Hello everyone, and welcome to the Peddling Princess Podium. I'm your host, John Nardelli, and today I'm profiling Acorn. It's an organization that is kind of like, I guess you could call it a union for low-income people to help them with to improve their neighborhoods. And a new chapter just opened here in Cape Breton. So I did a little profile on them. They had a little meeting to get the word out to the public, and I attended the meeting, and they had a lot of interesting things to say.
Home we sit, are we broken hearted? We're happy and cheerful as can be, for we know that forever.
We are the Cape Breton Association of Community Organizations for Reform Now. We are a union of low and moderate income families, young workers, cultural workers, assistance recipients, and the rest of the 99% fighting for a better Cape Breton. That's what Acorn is really about. We build power for working people within our neighborhoods, and how we do that is build our numbers. Here, we would like to add the first Acorn victory east of Ottawa, and that would be a campaign to fight for renters' rights. I'm a renter myself, and I've lived in some dives. When I was in university, I lived in an apartment in the North End where when we first moved in, the fridge didn't work and actually ran about 10 degrees hotter than room temperature. I called the landlord repeatedly and he acted like it wasn't a big issue. He just kept saying like, oh, well, just don't fill it full of stuff. And I'm like, no, yeah, sure, I'm not going to do that. Okay, that's great. And it took 2 to 3 weeks to get that fixed. I went 8 months without a door on my bedroom. Same situation.
The CBRM has really good bylaws regarding minimum standards for rental units. There's a lot of other landlords that just ignore those bylaws, and that's not right. What we're trying to do here is get as many people as we can, and we have a few people. We're really going to be pushing hard for outreach and to let people know that Acorn is here and we're not going away, that we're going to make the CBRM enforce their own bylaw, because what's happening is shameful.
I worked in the coal mines on my knees. I worked in the freezing cold of Alberta. I worked on the pole lines that put transmission power to keep your buns nice and warm at night. We were putting the poles in the ground, freezing cold. I worked on them. And I've had broken bones. I've been buried underground, under the ocean, in a coal mine. But I never experienced the indignity that I experienced when I went on the streets of Sydney in 1993. Because I had lost 6 friends. They're now buried because of inaction. Because people didn't take the time to take a look around and maybe make a phone call or do something. Do something, right? So Glenn is doing something. I always do something. And I took John Malcolm, the senior CEO of the hospital, to task on the floor of a gym just like this in New Waterford. So I go up to the hospital and I sit down just like we're having a private meeting, just him and I. And I asked him if he knew how much it cost to keep a person on the mental health unit. And he said he had an idea. I said, well, I'll tell you right now, it's $2,800 per day to have a person from the time that they dial 911 to the time they get a pill in them on the bed up in Unit D. So I said to him, you know how many people are regularly using the hospital as a touch base? Because they have nowhere else to go. So I said, John, I said, the alternative is either you help me to make some apartments that take care at least of the overflow right now, or I will start lining up ambulances with people on welfare who are suicidal. And I'll fill every one of your wards up there for 3 days at a time, each one $2,800. I said, I'll line them up, I'll go down with Loaves and Fishes, and I'll be having them calling 911 from the corner from my cell phone. And the ambulances will be picking them up. And you'll be overloaded. And the conversation ended at that point.
I've rented in a lot of different places, and I won't mention any names per se, but there's some areas of Sydney where housing is absolutely horrible. You know, I've lived in a house where the wind comes right through the window. Well, there's a window there, but there might as well not have been. You know, that kind of thing.
I lived in one place back in, I think it was 91. I couldn't take a shower in the bathroom, you know. It was that cold. It's like, you can see in the wintertime the frost coming through the walls and everything, you know, and the toilet, forget about it. The water in the toilet was frozen all the time, you know.
What did your landlord do to
Nothing. Back then, you know, I'm living down the north end now, and it's not too bad. It's, you know, cold, really cold. Oh, is it? Yes, the floor is just, you know.
Well, how much you paying rent?
$5.95. Yep. And not only that, I got a letter from them not too long ago. The rent is going up in May.
What?
Yeah.
Really? For what?
Squeeze till they pay.
You know, sort of for myself, when I was looking for rental housing last year, the state of a lot of the places that myself and my housemates were looking at were just awful. I mean, just to the point where, you know, we sort of looked at one house. I guess it was like a single, like sort of small house, 2 floors, and it was in just such a disgusting state of disrepair and neglect, you know, with some probably structural issues. And, you know, the landlord who's showing us around was kind of just basically acting like it needed like a little bit of a dusting and then it would look fine. And then, you know, then when we kind of commented on the state of, like, I don't know, the caved in ceiling, she, I don't know, made a racist remark about her previous tenants. So that was like a bit of a first wake-up call for me about sort of the state of housing around here. But, you know, as I kind of became more aware of this issue, I realized a lot of people are living in situations like these, but where they feel really powerless to speak out against the injustice that is being done to them. Yeah. You know, people develop serious health problems from inadequate housing. If something's wrong with your housing, like, it affects so many things in your life. If you're lucky enough to have a union in your workplace, if something goes wrong, you have the strength of the rest of the voices in your workplace to, you know, back you up when you stand up. But so many people don't have that benefit when you're talking about housing. A lot of people feel alone and scared and vulnerable and thinking, well, if I speak up, I'm going to get evicted, and that'll be the end of that. And, you know, I'm sort of here to say, I don't think that's right. I think we need to develop bonds of solidarity with each other, help each other develop courage to speak out when something is wrong.
A way to work. And what I want to bring to you guys is basically that you're not alone. We're only a small group tonight, right? But we'll get bigger by working together, and we'll make everyone's condition in this town even better. It's going to take a lot of thought and a lot of work and a lot of motivation. And that's what Sydney and Cape Breton was built on. And I want everyone to remember that in this room. That Cape Bretoners are not quitters, we're fighters, and we've got to embrace that past and move forward in the future. All right? That's it. All right.
Well, thank you for watching the Peddling Princess Podium. I'm your host, John Ardelli, and I hope to see you all again here next week. Bye for now.